Lippitt, owner of the Hill Street Group and host of Communication is an Art, the podcast. I'm a communication strategist, a public speaker, and a leadership trainer. Most weeks, I'll be joined by other communication specialists, but every few weeks, you'll hear from just me to equip you, the listener, with practical tools and strategies to navigate through your day with confidence. These podcasts are always non-scripted and conversational. So let's dive into this together. Hi, this is Pamela Lippitt from Communication is an Art. Today, you're going to be hearing just from me as I talk about the power of the pause. I'm saying that quietly now because it's my secret recipe for making sure that you are heard and welcomed into a conversation. So sit back for about 10, 15 minutes as we talk about how we feel in a conversation and how we can change how we feel in a conversation. I'm going to start by asking a couple questions. Maybe this is you. I think it's all of us at one point or another. Have you ever felt like there is no space for you in a conversation? In other words, you're just standing there while a monologue is being given to you, that in your mind, the other person doesn't even take a breath to let you in. We're feeling during that conversation or during that monologue, really, I can't even get a word in edgewise. What is going on here? Well, welcome to today's podcast where we're going to talk about the power of the pause. So did you notice I just paused when I said that? Why did I pause? I paused because I wanted it to sink in. You know, the National Academy of Science article tells us that only 2% of conversations end when people both want them to. I am sure that I could find another similar report to make me happy to show you that most people are very uncomfortable when there's not room to speak in a dialogue method or conversation method. So here I am being very conversational and a bit putting my experiences out there, which is a little bit nerve-wracking for me, but I'm going to share with you what I've been through in my life, what I do now, and how I go about changing things from the monologue to the dialogue. Now, I will say, I always feel like I'm leaving space for other people. And there are a number of times I have been told I interrupt a conversation. Well, I have to tell you, usually I think people are told that when there isn't space for them in a conversation, when it's just like things being spewed at them with no time to think, no time to digest, and certainly no place to respond. So here's my suggestion. When those conversations are being drilled at you, when things are coming out of the fire hose, and I really don't like that term, but I'm going to use it here. Take a deep breath. Don't match a loud voice with a loud voice. Don't try and dig in. And I will say to that end, once or twice in my business career, when I knew I had nothing else to lose, I have said to someone, listen, why don't you tell me when you're done talking? I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want you to feel like I'm interrupting you, but I do have some things to say. So just let me know when you're done. That's the worst case scenario. It just totally makes the playing field uneven and gives more power to one person than the other. Now, in a conversation, you should really both have the same, I don't know if the word is power, but the same conversation, the same interest, the same level of talking back and forth. I'm going to digress a little bit. I have a best friend. we're lucky if we have that person we can call our best friend since the day we met when we were 14. That's many, many years ago already. We talk over each other all the time. The kids know it's not that we're interrupting each other. The reality is we are just two halves of the same conversation, and we laugh and we change and we go back and forth, but we never, ever feel like we're interrupting each other. And we would never, ever say that to the other person. If anything, we would laugh and say, oh, wait, I just finished your sentence. Sorry about that. You can finish your next sentence all by yourself. But it's because of the mutual respect. And I guess that goes back to that idea of level playing fields, the mutual respect we have for each other at all times to make sure that we both by the end of the day have our voices heard. We often talk about, we've lent each other the same quarter, the same dollar a million times in our friendship. We never count that we loaned the money this way or loaned the change that way, because in the end of the day, we feel like it all evens out. And that's what a conversation should do. At the end of the day, you should feel like it all evens out. So, how do I look at a conversation that allows both people to walk away satisfied with the talking part, the decision part, and the next step part? Because really, especially in the workplace, that's what a conversation is. It goes well beyond what are you having for lunch. This is what we need to get done. This is what I'm thinking about it. And this is how we should proceed. And if the playing field is even, if there's space for both people to talk, you get to the end equal, happy, ready to move. I think the best way, if you're in a situation where you're feeling like you're being just run at with words and you can't even think straight because things are flying so fast and you're trying to take notes, but it's just too fast and too moving, is you should model your behavior. We say that about kids too. Model your behavior. If you're sitting on your cell phone all through dinner, what do you expect them to do? I think communication is the same. Model the behavior you want to see. Hopefully the other person will pick up on that and then model it back at you as you go forward. So step one to that is think of your thoughts as paragraphs. I'm going to say it again because it's important and I want you to hear it. Think of your thoughts, complete thoughts, as paragraphs. If you're reading a book, the author has a paragraph that's a thought. And when you come to the end of a paragraph, there's a space to the next paragraph or a space to the next thought. Why is that there? For me, what I think of is I think that's a place for me to digest that paragraph that I've just finished, digest that chapter, because that's really a complete thought, and say to myself, okay, whether I'm thinking it consciously or at this point I'm such a reader, it's just an unconscious thought. Oh, right. So this is what I'm taking from that. This is my space to really think about that chapter, that paragraph, and kind of figure out what it means in the context of the whole story or the context of the whole narrative that I'm reading about. So if you think of your thoughts that way, and you think when you're speaking to someone to do a pause in the beginning, maybe count to 3, finish a conversation, and in your head say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let that paragraph, that thought sink in. And then if it's really something important, like I did in the beginning where I repeated why I think this is an important thing, repeat that most important point. Repeat. I want this to sink in because this is so important to the task at hand. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything you want to say about that? Maybe you have some ideas on that thought. Break up your push into those paragraphs, into those thoughts, and give people the time to respond, just as if you were using an outline and getting to the end of that next point. By taking a conversation in chunks and letting people think about it in chunks allows it to be a conversation, not a dialogue, not time when the other person is only thinking, when will they take a breath so I can maybe scoot in without them thinking I interrupted? Because even when they take a breath, it's such a short breath. How am I supposed to get in? How am I supposed to explain what I've been thinking, what I am thinking, what my response is to that idea? It's just natural to want to get all that information out there as the speaker. It's much more important to let the other person in, or let the audience in if you're speaking to a group. I did a presentation last week, and in it, I took those specific pauses. It wasn't about the power of a pause. It was about networking and how to network well. But it's there too, right? It's the idea that when you introduce yourself, you leave space for the other person to introduce themselves too. Otherwise, they're just going to walk away and you won't be one of the cards they keep, right? So give that person space. And as you give the person space, hopefully they will see and understand why they should give you the space to think and answer as well. So I'm going to repeat it. I know this is a very repetitive conversation, but I really, really think it is the foundation of so much that we do. How we interact with other people. You know, there's verbal communication and there's nonverbal. Letting someone in is the mix of those two. So if I'm talking to you and I've got my arms crossed, waiting to hear a response, that response is never going to be calm, casual, matching the situation, because I already know I'm going up against someone who is very closed, both in their arms and in their mind. They already know the answer. They don't have any interest in what I have to say. But if you're standing and holding a cup in your hand, or your arms are open, or you're standing with a more relaxed pose, it invites the other person in to the mix. My very first job, darn, did my boss make me nervous. I don't think he's listening to this, so it's many, many years ago. I don't think it's a problem to talk about it now, because I found what I needed at that point too. And when I was in Michigan, he was in another state, my boss, but when we had to meet in person, and when I knew, it was always a difficult conversation. I'm not sure why. I was young. They never gave me any kind of training, but they expected me to have every answer. I did not. I did really well in that job, but it was on my own accord. It was not because I had any support. All right, that was an aside. When I would go into the meetings with him, I learned to stop on the way into the office and get whatever it was, probably in those days, a tab. I'm telling you how old I am when I say that. But a Dr. Pepper, a Diet Coke, a something. Not necessarily because I was thirsty. It's still a trick I use. It's my covered pause. When I need to think about my answer, I would take a sip of pop. Now I'm from the Midwest, so I can say pop. while I took that sip, I never even necessarily had any of the pop in my mouth. But what I had was the ability to lift the can to my lips and give myself 15 seconds to create my response. And that's another way we use the power of the pause. There's these things called defluencies, the the like, the little words we fill in. If we're talking about ourselves in a introductory manner, and we should know everything we're going to say pretty much, we should have it down pat. That's another episode. But we should, and there shouldn't be a lot of ums and likes and whatever in those conversations. I have to say, when I listen to the replay, I will be upset by the number of likes I use, but it is what it is. That ability to create your own pause, to create your own without saying gives you real power. It's an opportunity really to take the power back. So I want to wrap up today's conversation by saying that I think the power of the pause is really the power to create your own space, create your own timing, and create your own response in a way that you are happy with. So give it a try out. Put some more pauses into your conversation. Let other people into the conversation. Make sure that they're not walking away saying, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. It's not what you want. It's the last thing you want, I hope. So try this out. Let me know in the comments what you think of this idea. It seems to resonate with a lot of people. So that's my message for today. Again, this is Pam Lippitt from the Hill Street Group with my podcast, The Communication is an Art. I'll even stumble over that to make sure that you know I'm human. Communication is an art, and we hope to see you again on the next podcast. Have a good day, everyone. Hi, this is Pam Lippitt from the Hill Street Group. Thank you for listening to Communication is an Art. Make sure you subscribe and continue to listen. We really appreciate it. Share with your friends all those different lovely things. And we will be back soon. Have a great day.